Oh, how I came up with the idea for Geek Church. Well, actually, it's kind of a funny story. It kind of was just like I don't want to say an accident, but just like a byproduct of some other stuff we're trying. So back in the day, we tried to do the whole, 2005 or so, me and some of my friends got together, and we tried to basically copy Revision 3. I wanted to have like all these online shows and everything, and so we were working on that, and we spent all of our time just working on the website, and pretty much that's where most of our time, we only did a few episodes of a few shows because we spent all of our time on the website. I had a friend of mine who was building it for us in Cold Fusion, and it was just going to be this great site, and all from scratch. We could brag that it was all just handmade and hand coded and all this kind of stuff. We had this very ambitious thing, and we had all these also ambitious ideas for shows. And this is back in the day, Revision 3 was still relatively small. Blip.tv had just come out, well, that same year, and this whole web show, like I was really getting into like the web shows and stuff like that, watching like Galacticast and stuff like that, other stuff on Blip, and so we had this idea to just do all these shows, and that kind of fell apart a little bit. The guy who was doing the website, he was taking too long, and so that never really happened. One of the guys went off to school to... he just graduated not that long ago. Is actually breaking into Hollywood, so that's cool. Congratulations for him. And so out of that initial group of, let's say, one, two, probably 4 or 5 of us, Jeff was part of the group. At the time, he was so much younger, and he was still kind of a kid. I mean, we were all really kids, but he was like even younger. So he was just kind of like the annoying little brother that like I kind of invited, and then him and our web guy absolutely just hated each other, and they used to fight all the time. The one thing we did have going was the forum. And so we had this forum, and just they argued over everything. Politics, religion. It was horrible. It was also really funny, but it caused a lot of headaches. At one point, like, we didn't even talk to Jeff for a while. All kinds of drama. But anyways, and then I moved up to Sacramento '09. And I got back together with a friend of mine who used to live in Merced with me, and we just, decided... He was actually the one who helped me come up with the name Film Reel Studios, which we still have the website. It hasn't been updated in like 3 years. So we got back together, and we stuck with the name Film Reel Studios. And at this point, we were really focusing not on the whole web TV thing, but like doing movies and being a studio making movies, which was way back in the day was my original idea, and then the web stuff kind of got me the web stuff. Well, then we went back to the movie thing. We weren't trying anything too super ambitious. We just had this little short 5-minute film we wanted to do. We figured it'd take us 1 or 2 weekends to shoot, a month or 2 to edit. It ended up taking us several months to shoot. We ended up rewriting. It was supposed to just be, anyways, long story short, it turned into a big project, which technically still isn't done, and it's like 98% done, and then we just all got tired of it, and it's just sitting on our hard drives. It's actually halfway decent, so maybe we'll show it eventually, but anyways, so then I get up to Paradise, and I'm a youth pastor, student ministries director, and I wasn't really touching any of the movie stuff for a while. I was too busy with my new job. It was my first full-time ministry job. I'd been doing ministry stuff for years. 10 plus years, I started in high school really, but it was my first full-time job, and I wasn't even just the youth pastor, I was the student ministries director, so it was like a big thing, so I was really focused on that, and I didn't have really any time. I dropped all that kind of stuff. My friend was like, "Are we gonna do anything?" And I was like, I can't right now. So after, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 5-6 months, I got the bug again to really do stuff. And at this point, I'd brought Jeff up as an intern. I'd been there for a while, and I brought Jeff up, who again was one of the original guys. We brought him in just, honestly, I don't even know why Providence really had to been, looking back, because there was really no reason to at the time to bring him around. He didn't really have much video skills back then. Now, I mean, oh man, he edited probably half of the Geek Church episodes, and he would still be editing them if he was closer. And he actually does a better job at it than I do, because he spends more time than I do. So anyways, he comes up, he's an intern, and so we were having a hard time getting, like, we had exposure with a lot of students, but we were having a hard time getting them to come to youth, because there was this reputation of church as being this horrible thing, and I don't blame them, because it had really been for them in the past. They'd been treated horribly, and unfortunately, from what I hear, still are there. So we're like, you know what, let's connect with them on another level. It's much less intimidating to click on a link or watch a video from Facebook than it is to come into a church building, into a service. And at the time, I mean, I think we probably had, out of a school of like 1,400 students, we had contacts with probably 400 or 500 students that we were seeing on a multiple week basis between doing, we had skate stuff, we're doing ramps, and we were doing evangelism and outreach to the skate kids. And then we had tri-tips we did, so we were meeting, like I said, probably 400 students on multiple times a week, throughout the week. And we're like, how can we connect with these kids and get them over this phobia of coming into a service? So we came up with this idea of like taking sermons, doing them in a different way. I had, a few years before that, had seen, found out about and started watching Film State. And I was like, this is the way youth ministry should be done, in the sense of the way he's just very casual and all the cut scenes to stuff. And, you know, someone should really, you know, do this for youth stuff. So we decided, let's do some of that. Let's take that idea and just kind of be crazy. And so we came up with a couple different shows. First I started with video announcements, and then it turned into The Encounter, then it became First Encounter. And then from that spawned, like, okay, back to the network idea. Let's have our own network. Well, first I tried to get on a couple of networks. Next New Networks, before they got bought out by YouTube, and Revision 3 again. And of course, well, at first Next New Networks seemed interested, and then they stopped returning emails. So I don't know what that's that about. But anyways, they're lost, right? So we got back to this network idea. Let's have this network and cover all these shows, which was really stupid because it's me and Jeff. And at the time, like, we didn't even have a camera. We had a flip cam, so it was really limited in what we could do. And we were just like, you know, let's just do what we can. This will probably just be another one of those like film studios we started up, and then it didn't really amount to anything other than some great memories and some great experience. And every time we'll just get better, and, you know, and eventually we'll get better and better. And worst case scenario, when I turn 30, doesn't matter where I am, I'll just quit my job and do it full time. So we'll keep trying it, and it keep failing, keep getting better. When I turn 30 years old, I'll just quit, and that way there's no excuse. We've had experience, and then now I'm just going to do it full time, even if I have to get a part-time job. So that was kind of like the idea. And so we called it Encounter Digital, because again, it was this whole idea of how do we get these kids to kind of like see us for who we really are and get over this phobia of all this, I don't know, Christian imagery and stuff, and just stuff that even like me and Jeff, I mean, we'd sit around the shop, tri-tip stuff, just complaining forever. So it's like, we understand where they're coming from, because we hate that crap too. How do we get over that? And so there's this Encounter Digital, you know. And the funny thing is, we had all these show ideas again, and this time it was so much easier though, because I used a Blogger blog for our website. And then instead of DV video, so instead of it taking, if we recorded, you know, 2 hours of video, I'm going to say an hour of video, because we had a foreign production show, was our first show we did back in the day. So if it was an hour long on green screen, I'd have to capture it for an hour. It sucked to key, all kinds of problems. At least we had digital HD now, so even a flip cam was still 5 times better than the best DV cam that we were working with. So that made it easier, all the digital stuff. But still, it was just too much, man, trying to keep up with all these shows. And Geek Church was really just this kind of dumb idea I had at the time. And I'd been watching a lot of the XXX Church stuff. Well, at this point, I hadn't been watching their stuff so much, but I had in the past. And the one thing I liked is their concept of how they were going to porn conventions and just like meeting people where they are, and not expecting people to come to them. And I'm like, you know, out of all the like sexual integrity and purity ministries and stuff there are, I mean, there's freaking bajillion of them, and most of them are kind of crap and aren't really doing much, or they're just helping people inside the church, not really reaching one. I like how they went out there. So I had this idea of like, I talked to a friend of mine who did media stuff, and about like, hey, what if we did something like XXX Church, we call it Geek Church, and we went to conventions, and then eventually even made comics and stuff, you know, and stuff like that. And he thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was a great idea, but it was like, I'm not going to invest my time into it. Like, yeah, it's this great idea, but it's just such this niche idea where I'm like, seriously, I have to work on the weekends. I can't, you know, go to comic conventions anyways, and the money. And that's such this small thing of what we want to do with Encounter Digital. So there's like no way we can really do that. Which is ironic, because that's really exactly what we're focusing on now. So Geek Church was just this idea of, let's just do this small little show. It'll just be like an add-on to like our main shows, which was First Encounter at the time, was like the big flagship, which was ironic because that one was just pretty much was all about me. And it was funny and it was pretty good, but after a while it just got so hard to produce all the time. And Geek Church, on the other hand, was easy. Like the initial idea, we could do our initial idea with it because we wanted to have it streaming. I set up a Ustream account and people could chat in and we'd be this live show. I even had a third line on my phone to take in live calls, and we're gonna do this great thing. Well, the stupid freaking flip cam wouldn't send the signal out, and I thought it would because it had the HDMI out, but it's only in playback mode. I talked to Cisco, and they're like, no, our camera sucks. Granted, I paid like 79 bucks for it, and we recorded probably 60 of the 80 something episodes of Geek Church on it. It was a pretty good investment. But anyways, back to your question. Oh geez, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so that's right. So we just decided, let's just record it. Well, like we'll go and we'll read like a comic, like a graphic novel at the bookstore, or we'll watch, like at the time we were watching a ton of movies on Netflix and Redbox. It's like we can just watch one of those. There's a bunch of superhero ones coming out, and then we can kind of review it. And we'll review it, and then we'll go into some of the spiritual aspects. And that idea came from just years of being in these conversations, especially when I worked at Hollywood Video, where we talk about this great movie, or a comic book or cartoon or something like that, and then we discuss like one of the themes in it, whether it's the whole Jean, Cyclops, Logan, love triangle and the fidelity issues of that, or like when Cyclops and the White Queen. I remember that was a big one. We were debating over Cyclops, and then Jean's death, and then him with the White Queen and Emma Frost and all that kind of stuff, like the morality implications of stuff like that, and just these crazy conversations that in one sense are kind of dumb and don't mean anything, but in another sense are just amazingly fun to have and really hold, almost like parables from the Bible, hold these like great truths that just made them very contextualize the issues for us. And it was great because we'd have them, we'd have like atheists, agnostics, Christians, fake Christians, and all this kind of stuff, just discussing these things, and it was these great topics. And so like, let's do the Geek Church. So I'll come over, with a movie, we'll watch it and review it and then talk about these topics, or we'll drive down to, again, Paradise, it was a tiny little town, so we drive down to the next town, Chico, spend a couple hours at the bookstore, read some graphic novels, and go over it. And that was the idea. And you know, I didn't put a lot of thought or time into it because I wasn't that interested in it. It was just this one thing to help flesh out our network more. But I was more interested in Encounter Digital, or First Encounter, and our lightsaber fights and the blowing up of rooms and all the effects and stuff we were doing and how to sustain that. And I just never got around to doing it. And then we were having I got called up by the district youth department, youth ministries, student ministries, and they were like, hey, we have some interns, can they stay the weekend? And I was like, yeah, sure, we'll find something for her to do. And that dawned me, hey, this would be a great opportunity. This is the first time they've done this, and this internship, and so let's interview them, and really go. And again, I was still struggling with the concept of Geek Church. So all that I just said about the conversation, that came later. The first episode, actually, if you watch episode 1, it really has nothing to do with the rest of Geek Church, is because of, well, one, it was through Ustream, and I used a crappy video mini DV camera. And the thing is, we just really talked about stuff, not really anything that geeky at all. And the idea was, like, let's base Geek Church back then was on just geeking out in your face. So, like, geeks learn everything. They get into all the aspects and stuff like that. They don't just read a comic. They know the back history. They know the science. They know all about the artist and the writer, and which their favorite was on which run and all that kind of stuff. Let's do that. Have Geek Church be that, like, really geeking out on the aspects of faith and really knowing what we believe. And of course, so later on, as Jeff and I talked about it more, we decided to do it. We recorded the episode as like a pilot, thinking like eventually when I get around to it, we'll do it. I was still in the middle of, I think I spent 2 or 3 months just every night up to 2, 3, towards the end, 6 in the morning, working on that lightsaber Dragon Ball Z teleportation fight for First Encounter episode 2 or 3 or something. I don't know, 1. I don't know, something like that. And so we started doing it, man. We just were like, you know what, a lot of it was just copied off of Dignation. We just sat in front of the couch. At first we had a table, and we were kind of copying more of 3D Buzz, their old show they used to do. And then we started doing the couch, more of the Dignation. And now I don't know. I think maybe we'll copy more of TRS or something. Totally Rad Show. No, I don't know. We're doing more of the interview stuff now, and we actually right now we kind of branched out. We're doing the comic indie interviews and then some geek preaching and stuff like that. And so it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. That's kind of how it all got started. It's just like this idea that we were like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but we're not going to do it. And then it was like, well, okay, we're not really going to do it. We'll just tag it on as one thing to flesh out. But Encounter Digital, man, that's our thing. We want this network. And then over a period of about a year, maybe 6, 7, 8 months to a year, Encounter Digital just started dying off, and I think it's still online. I think I lost the domain to it. Well, I didn't lose it. I just didn't pay for it to renew it. But I think there's still a site up, and it was a whatchamacallit site. I can't think of. It was the social network platform Ning, and we did. And I started it for our youth student ministries, and I converted it over to Encounter Digital. And so we went from the blogger blog. I really wanted a Foursquare. No, I can't think of it. I couldn't afford whatever it was. I couldn't afford it. It was like $20 a month. So we went from Blogger to Ning, because it was $20 a year, and I used the church credit card, and then I said it was for student ministries, and it was originally, and then I converted it over. And then now we're on WordPress. And so yeah, just it's evolved, and now it's like this big thing that is like we put way too much time into, and we're just obsessed with, and you know, we're setting up interviews and driving down to SAC and doing massively long 7-hour sessions of interviews and stuff. So we're just totally in love with it. So hopefully you guys fall in love with it too, and spend as much time watching it as we do producing it, and that'd be awesome. And we'd love your support. We'd love if you guys, you know, went out and told your friends, become fans, and spread the word. Read and watch every episode, every article, read it, every episode, watch it, post it on your stuff. I know that's probably not going to happen, but at least watch some of the stuff. And just, again, spread the word. Thanks for the support, and hopefully, you know, you like what we're doing, and now you have a little tidbit of where it all came from.